Hi, I'm Joni from Jones Art Gallery, and here with another tutorial for you. And today we're going to be doing this. This is such a fun time of year for me. I totally love it. And turn this down just a little bit so you can hear me, because we know you want to hear me. All right, so I'm Joan Turner from Jones Art Gallery and Intuitive Art and Soul. So I am here doing tutorials for you, especially those of you who are stuck at home. You have these wonderful tutorials kind of initiated by Ms. Bethany of the Drapey Council on Aging. And she is an awesome person. I have been a fan of hers since the first day I met her. Okay, so we started doing these tutorials for folks, and we share them. Okay, we share them with folks at DATV, which is Drake at Access TV. The work at Access TV, they are totally edited by very awesome Tara, who does her very best to make me look good, which takes a little bit of manipulation, but she does an awesomely good job. And Ron over at DATV, and also sharing them with GHAA, which is Great Hero Art Association. So and they're all free. They're all free to watch and observe and try and all that good stuff. So if you are part of the group, take that back, Joan. If you are associated with the Drake Council on Aging, they're actually giving craft packs and art packs out. Okay, the packs include not only this picture that we're going to do, which is Frosty the snowman, but they also do pictures, they do the paint, canvases, brushes, you name it, they got it, all right? So the supplies are limited, so absolutely call them first, okay? Drake Council on Aging, Drake it, and try to get one. And for most of you, like I said, this is like my 15th tutorial, so a lot of you have been adding to your supplies on your own, okay? Because the packs have just primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, and then they have added some black and white. So I think they may not have the secondary colors, which would be like the greens and the browns and stuff. But the good news is that you can mix those colors from any of the primaries. So if you want to make green, you mix blue and yellow. If you want to make purple, you mix blue and red. If you want to mix orange, you're mixing red and yellow. Okay, so any of those combinations absolutely will work for you. Okay, so for this picture, we are going to, you can use actually any size canvas you want. I am going to be using an 8x10 panel, all right, which is different than a stretched canvas. Let me see, I will find a stretched canvas for you to look at. Stretched canvas, yeah, okay. So this was another tutorial that we did with the Drinking Council on Aging. All right, so this is one that we did. So if you're interested in doing this one, you can look at the YouTube for the dolphins. You can look on my website. You can call the Drinking Council on Aging. You can actually send me an email, Jonissa, Joan as in Nancy, S as in Susan, A at Comcast.net, and say, yo, send me your link for this tutorial, okay? So the canvas is wrapped around a wooden frame and stapled on the back, okay? So this is a stretched canvas, which I'm gonna put back up on the wall, okay? So a canvas board is canvas paper that has been glued onto or otherwise attached to a board. So see how thin it is? All right, so this is a canvas board. And so, like I said, you can use a stretch canvas, you can use a canvas board. If you're getting art packs from Drake Council on Aging, which is DCOA, if you hear me say that, you're going to get a 8 by 10 canvas board. Okay, so let me put this one back. So you will again, it doesn't matter how big, or whether you have a stretch canvas or a canvas board. Okay, so this is my 8 by 10 canvas board. So you're going to need that. The easel you don't need. All right, I'm using an easel because I'm hoping it will be easier for you to kind of see everything. Right, you will need a palette, which I'm just using a regular paper plate. You can use an artist palette, which is awesome. Oh, I think I stuck my finger in the paint. And I'm wiping it on my clothes because these are my art clothes. Make sure you wear art clothes because most likely you'll get paint on yourself. Okay, so using a paper plate as a palette, you can use whatever you want as a palette. I find that these are really easy because after I'm done with them, I whisk them away into the trash. Okay, I don't have to wash them, clean, whatever. They also have disposable palettes that you can use, which is just tearing off the top layer whenever you're done with it. Right? You're going to need brushes. Okay, brushes. DCOA packs have large, medium, small brushes. And for this picture, you will probably use all of them. Okay, so for just to do the background, you'll want a kind of usually a large square head. This was kind of an angled top, but either one will do the trick. Okay, so you want so a large brush, and then you kind of want a medium type of brush. Okay, and then I have some smaller round-headed brushes that you can use for like details and whatnot. Okay, and if you have one even smaller, and I think a lot of you do, okay, to get like the eyes on the snowman, that type of thing. Okay, so you're going to want the brushes. You're going to need lots and lots of paper towels. Paper towels. You're going to end up using lots of paper towels. So now, paints. What do you need for paints? For this picture, you're going to need white. Okay, you won't need a whole gallon of white, but you will need some white. We want some orange for the carroty nose. We want a little bit of blue because can you see some blue in here? Okay, so white, we're going to mix a little bit of blue in with our white paint to get some perspective on a snowman and even on some of the background there. Okay, I have some yellow, okay, for like on the mailbox, yellow, okay, which is one of your primary colors. And using brown. If you don't have brown, you're going to mix green and red to make brown. We're going to use some brown on the trees and maybe a little bit on the mailbox. All right, now let me tell you that I'm going to use black for the hat. We're going to do red for the scarf and the ribbon on the hat. And of course, green. Okay, we have some greenery going on here. All right, so this actually uses quite a few colors, which is kind of nice. We like a nice colorful picture. But what I started to say when I was interrupting myself, all right, is that you can use any colors you want. If you want to have a blue scarf, have a blue scarf. If you want no scarf, you don't have to have a scarf. All right, so you can do whatever makes your boat float or your butterfly. Okay, so in other words, you can do whatever you want. So we're going to do a step-by-step, and the first thing that we want to do is we're going to put some, this is heavy, white paint on our palette, and I'm going to put some blue, And I have a really kind of light blue here. Okay, it's called cerulean blue. But you can use, again, any kind of blue that you want. Even if you're using a darker blue, if you add some white to it, you're going to get a light blue. And I want a light blue for this background, okay? So I want the lighter blue to go around here, and then I'm going to put white in the middle. Okay, when you're using acrylic paints, and that is what we're using, acrylic paints, you always want to work from the back forward. So we're going to do the sky and the ground first. And we're going to use white and blue. And I actually am going to put just a speck of black out on my palette. Okay, just a little bit of black. And that's because I just want to tone down this blue for the background. All right, so I want to maintain the nice blue here, but for the background I don't want to have this blue over there. Okay, so I am going to, and I want to do 2 coats. Whenever I do a background, I always kind of want to do 2 coats here. So I actually have already done the first coat and then kind of put it in front of the fan, but I want us to do the second coat together. So let's adjust the camera so that you can really see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm first of all taking the white, okay, mostly white here, and putting it there. I'm just grabbing just a little bit of the blue. So what I end up with here is a very light blue, okay? And I'm going to add the blue a tiny bit at a time. Okay, now I'm going to just drag a teensy bit of that black, and it's just going to tone down my blue. It gives me almost this kind of slate blue color, right? And again, and I'm going to look here at this picture, which I'll put over here for you. I want to do my edges. Okay, I'm going to go a little darker here. Okay, so I want to do these edges. Okay, because that's where I want most of my color to be. And I'm going to remix this a little bit. So I'm not crazy about what I mix there. So I'm adding a little bit more color in here. So this is more of what I was looking for, right? So I'm kind of going around my edges like so. Okay, and turn this around. And again, make sure you have art clothes on. Acrylic paints, once they dry, they become permanent. I mean, if you have decent clothes on, you'll want to wear a smock or something that you don't mind. I have art clothes, what I call art clothes. Okay? You'll also, if this is my art room, so even though I'm careful and try not to be so messy, if you're working on a kitchen table, or something, go to the dollar store, get a dollar tablecloth, plastic tablecloth, and cover your table. Okay, so now in the middle, I'm going to go ahead and just put this white in here. Okay, so now I have the darker parts or the shadowy parts around the outside edge, and then the middle I'm going to go lighter. Okay, so I want to keep this paint a little bit wetter than I have here. Okay, so we have kind of a bluish grayish color going on around the edges, and then I'm going to go pure white here for my middle. Okay, so I'm actually taking this and blending it right into the blue. Okay, so I end up with a nice smooth color here. Okay, and a nice blend. I don't want to see lines of demarcation, like this is where the blue ends, this is where the white begins. We want to blend this in. Okay, see if I can get a better view for you. Okay. So again, on the outside, I have blue, a little bit of black, and white. Okay. So I want to keep these these edges a little bit darker. So again, you know, whatever you want to do is fine. So I'm going to blend in these edges a little bit. Okay, so pretty much what I have here is kind of a darker outside area here and a lighter area inside. So I'm wondering how good you can see all of this. Maybe I'm going to move you a little closer. Let's see. Okay. It looks like a voila to me. All right. So now we have a good background here. And because we're working from the background forward, right, there are some very kind of grayish trees in here. Okay. So can you see those? All right. So I'm going to use, let me see. So I want to use this same kind of grayish bluish color that I used around these edges, and I let me clean off my brush. Okay, when you're not using your brushes, put them in the water, because like your clothes, if the paint dries in the brush, then you're really not able to use it, because it unless you're doing dotted mandalas, because it's going to become very hard. Okay, so I want to use that same kind of bluish slate color. So again, I'm going to pick up some white and put it on my palette. I'm going to pick up some blue and mix it on in there. Okay, this is what I end up with. And again, I'm going to do just a dab of the black, all right, and maybe a teensy bit more, because those background trees, I want them to definitely be in the background. Okay, so I'm using my big brush for this, because I'm going to make my trees this way. I'm not going to flatten out the brush. I'm going to use it on its edge. Okay, so I'm looking here and I see these trees in the background, kind of faded trees in the background. So even though I'm working on a little bit of an angle here, I think I can get them in. Okay, so I'm going to start right at the top here, and I'm putting in some of these tree lines. Okay. Okay, and these are just some background trees that we're going to play with a little bit here. Okay. Right, so, and again, not a wrong way to do this. Right there, let's do some more back here. So I actually am just making lines, just making some very subtle lines back here. Okay, and they're relatively straight, and they're coming about 2/3 of the way down my canvas. Okay, so I'm actually going to switch to a little bit of a smaller brush now, okay, because I want to make some slimmer trees. Again, when you're not using your brushes, put them in the water. Okay. So I want some branches coming off this tree. I'm going to do this. Can you see that? Right. Come a little closer. Okay, so I'm just dipping in this paint, and the trees that I already have on here, I'm just putting some branches on them. Okay. And again, these trees are so very, very light because they are background trees. I might add a little bit of shadow here and there to them, but for the most part, they're going to be off into the background. Okay, so remember, tree limbs typically come out and up. Okay, so we can put in some thinner trees while we're at it. Okay, and I'm going to go maybe just a teensy bit darker here. So I have, this is kind of a really grayish, slate bluish color here. Okay. Let's put some of that in here and see what we end up with. This is the first time I'm doing this picture. So we're going to discover together what it's all about. Okay, and there's quite a few trees in this picture. Okay, so now I'm going to go to an even smaller brush, which is a smaller detail brush. And I actually just dumped it in my drink. It's a good thing with clean. Probably not the first time I'm drinking paint. So I'm going to go a little bit here. And I want to put in some finer little things going on here. This is pretty dark, so I think I'm going to add a little white to that. Okay. Okay. So again, remember that these limbs kind of go up and out to the sides over here. Okay, so I'm actually making lots of little limbs and whatnot, kind of going off to the sides here. And I'll hold this a little bit closer to the camera here in a second. Let's just get some more of these on here. You're going to find that, a lot of times people will look at these and then, oh my gosh, that looks so hard and blah, blah, blah. But I really think the hardest part is just getting them started. Once you actually get the picture started, it's pretty easy. Okay, so we're going to take some of this really lighter. And I'm going to go right into the middle of my picture. Okay. And I'm holding my arm. I am supporting myself. Okay. So even though these lines are not straight and they don't need to be straight, okay, we want to maintain a bit of control here. Okay. So bring these out. A little bit darker in here. Come on out. We have all these very cool background trees going on. Okay, just hints of trees actually. And again, they do not have to be really straight. They do not need to be straight at all, actually. We just want lots of little branches and whatnot. Remember that these are background trees. It's going to be, except for this part up here, there's actually going to be a lot of stuff in front of them. Okay, more trees. All right, so I'm going to go really, really light over here. So I think I'm going to stop there, I think. Okay. So if I seem to be moving too quickly for you, stop the recording and just catch up. Okay. So I realized just painting on trees, well, it could be easy for some, it can be more daunting for others. Everyone is different, and thank goodness we are. Mhm. Well, lots of little tree things going on here. You find you want more or less? Absolutely. Go for it. Mhm. Okay. So I'm thinking that's cool. Lighten this guy up just a little. Okay, so if in fact you make a boo-boo, because I now have this splotch in here, okay, first thing to do is don't panic. Ah! Okay, in most cases, things can be fixed relatively easy. So with that splotch, I just kind of added another tree in here. So again, no need to panic, no need to panic. All right, so now, okay, this little piece in here, let's do that. Okay, I think that looks better. Okay, so brushes that you're not using, put in your water. Okay, I'm gonna hold this up to you again so you can see that these are actually very light background trees. Okay. Okay, so now what we want next in here is a little bit of some tree shapes on either side of this. Now, again, you can put it in or you don't need to put them in, right? And these are a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go with the white. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to that. Typically a little bit of black here. Kind of add this tree back here. Okay, so it's a very small hint of a tree. So let's go here. And um, tree making is a lot easier than most people think it is. So we just want to come out here. It's a kind of a tree coming off the side here. And I'm just dabbing. Okay, I'm going to pull some of the branches out this way. I'm going to come down here. Okay, so this tree is not going to have like lots and lots of detail. And I have to look at it a little bit this way. Okay, so we have just a hint of a tree out here. Okay, it's my hint of a tree. Okay, it's hard to tell the way the light's hitting here. Right. And there is one on the other side a little bit. So let's put that baby in. Okay, so I'm taking the colors that I already have on here, adding a little bit of blue, a little bit of gray, and more white. Okay. So this tree comes way over here, like this, and I'm going to add a little bit more white because it's very blue back here, which is pretty. It's pretty. Maybe I'm going to leave it blue. I'm going to take it down here and into my foreground a little bit. Kind of cool. Okay. And again, you don't need to be exact. You don't have to put it in at all if you do not want to. Okay, I'm going to go right up against this edge a little bit here. But the rest is going to get dabbed. Dabbed, dabbed, dabbed. Okay, so now I have hints of trees on both sides. Okay, so adding a little bit of the dark on the other side, I think, kind of makes it look furry. So again, I'm deviating a little bit from the handout. So don't be afraid to say, well, gee, I like that. I'm going to put more in. Or, gee, I don't like that. I think I won't put that in. Okay? Because in the end, you want to be happy with it. I made a picture one time that I kind of did, and I was trying to find just the right frame and stuff for it. And so I went to a frame shop, and the gentleman there he wasn't crazy about the frame that I had picked out, and he was trying to talk me into a different frame. Now, it wasn't more money, so it wasn't just to make the sale, I'm sure. But what ended up happening is at that time, because I had just started doing commissioned work at that time, so I felt, all right, he had more experience with frames and artwork and so on and so forth. So I went ahead with his recommendation. And long story short, I regretted it. Every time I would look at the picture, I'd be like, I wish I had gotten the other frame. I wish I had gotten the other frame, so on and so forth. So the lesson there is no matter how much experience someone has, you kind of have to go by what you like, what's meaningful to you. Okay, so now we are ready to move on to what's next. What's next? But actually the mailbox is okay, and then and I say that only because the snowman's limbs and whatnot are in front of the mailbox. So we're gonna put the mailbox in next, and I'm gonna get a fresh palette. So for my mailbox, and again, if you're not done with this part of it, absolutely stop it and catch up. Okay, so for the rest of us, or if you've come back after stopping it, we're going to mix a kind of brownish yellowish color. Kind of looks like rusty steel, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to take some brown. I always get it on me. Yeah. Okay, then take a little bit of brown, and as I'm looking at this picture, I see a little bit of yellow in there. Now I know that there's snow on the top, but there's dark inside the mailbox, right? And the cover is open. So take a good look at that. Okay, I'm going to put that here. And it does have some whites and whatnot on there. So I want some yellow. And this is a very deep yellow. You can use whatever yellow you have or want. And this yellow is yet to be used. So I'm going to open it up and give myself a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of red here. Okay, and the only reason for the red is I like that it's kind of rusty looking in here. Okay, so I'm going to take a relatively small brush. Okay, and I'm cleaning this brush because I have used it already several times, and I have like 3 water dishes out here. So I'm going, cleaning it in one, then the other, and then going to the clear water to make sure I get all the paint off my brush. And the way that you know you've gotten all the paint off your brush is when you wipe it on something white, whether it's a cloth or a paper towel, no color comes off on the paper towel. Thus, you know you have all the paint out of the brush. So first, I'm going to go actually quite light here. I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water here and just make a very light because I want to give myself a guideline here. Okay, so my snowman's going to go right here. It's going to go right here. So, and again, you do not have to be exact. There is a tree in front of this. So if this is halfway here, half it's right here. I'm going to go right here. Okay. Okay, and I'm just, it comes about 1/3 of the way up the picture. Okay. So they're in Lasma pole. And I just did it, like I said, very lightly because typically what you're doing is kind of drawing with your brush. So if in fact you are thinking that you would like to take art lessons, we would love to have you. When Drake Council on Aging reopens, we are going to carry on classes. We were running them every Wednesday from noon to 2. On Wednesdays noon to 2. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, let's make kind of a rectangle here. Okay, a little bit of an opening here. Okay, and again, the opening is going to be a little bit darker. And I know that we're going to have envelopes and little stuff going on in there. We want to get the mailbox on for now. Okay, so have this and then this on this side, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab some more white. Okay, some more white, and I'm going to just dip my brush in the end of it, okay, and then put it on this mailbox. So remember that there's trees and whatnot behind it. Can you see what I'm doing? Let's go a little closer. Okay, I'm just putting that little bit of white on there. Okay. And also going to build on my stand here. Okay, so going into the brown now and darkening all of this. Can you see? Okay. Love it when I watch tutorials and the person's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you're like, okay, I don't see it. What are you doing? Okay, so I mean, you can use a ruler to get that nice and straight if you want to. I don't think that you really need it. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller detail brush. Okay, so your smallest kind of detail-y brush. All right, and let's dip into the brown. Okay, and we're going to go around here, and I am supporting this hand with my other hand. Okay, we're going to have some envelopes in here, so I'm going to draw those babies in. And you do not have to have as many that are in here. You can have more, you can have less. Again, you are the creator. Okay, so this is very light at this point. Okay. Okay, a little bit of a mailbox going on there. I'm going to take a little bit of my white, okay, put it on my plate. Let me see, can you see? See? Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow because remember we want it to kind of look a little kind of rustic. So a little bit of yellow, and like I said, I'm going to dip into the red here. Okay, so I'm getting this kind of rusted color here. And I want to just right along this edge here. Okay, the mailbox is open. So I'm adding a little bit of an open area to it. Okay, a little bit more rust. Okay, paintbrush, when you're not using it, put it in the water. Okay, I want to make some of these little curlicues down here because I just think they're cool as anything. Okay, so I'm going to dip into, I'm going to use my smallest detail pointy brush into the brown like that. And I'm going to come up here, make a curlicue, come up here, make another curlicue. Okay, if the curlicues are too hard for you to do, don't do them. Okay, just a little bit more curlicues. Okay, over here, I'm going to make a little bit of a bulging, I don't know what to call that design. I am sure that you folks will tell me. Joan, that's called a this or a that. Okay, so it's just to give a little bit of design. Okay, this brush kind of giving me a hard time. All right, let me find a better detail brush. Okay, if in fact you don't have a detail brush, you can always make a very fine liner type of a brush by taking a brush that you no longer need or mind and just separate some of the hairs and cut them off, and you will end up with a very fine line brush. Okay, so I want to just kind of have a little thing in there that I'm not crazy about, so I'm going to fix it. So one of the good things about painting, especially acrylic paints, you could take white and go over the brown with it, and it covers just fine. Okay. Okay, so I want to put a little bit of yellow in this post here. So I'm going to just a little bit of yellow in through here, maybe a teensy bit of red, because again, I'm getting this kind of, I want it to have kind of a rustic look to it. I'm not sure how close I can get to the camera here, but that looks pretty good. It's kind of bright, so I'm going to dip into the brown and just tone it down a little. Okay, you are the creator here. You can do whatever your heart desires. Okay, so I'm kind of liking that. Okay, and it didn't take lots and lots of work to do. I'm going to dip into my white now, because now I'm looking to make some highlights here. Okay, so I'm going to put little highlights here and right around here, I think. Okay, we're going to let it catch the light. Okay. Okay, same thing around the edge of our mailbox. I would like to catch a little bit of light right around here. Okay. And on this side, we actually have snow. Okay, so let's get a little bit of snow going on over here. Okay, so I have snow around the opening. Now I'm going to go ahead and dab a little bit more snow right on top of here. Okay, and there's actually not a wrong way to dab snow on something. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to pull a little bit down here like this. Okay, and now don't forget that you have letters in here. Okay, so let's draw out our, I'm going to put some white on my envelopes. If in fact you want to, you can take a dry brush, okay, and then just dab here. And that will make your snow look more fluffy, okay? All right, so back to these envelopes here. I'm gonna, I don't want them to be pure white in here. So I have one there. Kind of have there's a yellow envelope, okay, which is, I'm pretty sure is a holiday card. So I'm gonna put that in here, like this. Okay. Then we have I'm switching back to the smaller brush because we have a smaller little envelope right here in front of it, like so. And then another one a little bit bigger, which I'm also going to use the white for. Okay, I'm going to drag it right out almost to here. Okay, so now we have envelopes coming out of our mailbox. So I'm going to allow those to dry a little bit. And while those are doing that, I'm going to take my small detail brush. I'm going to go ahead and darken this area back here again. Okay, so it gets really, really dark, especially where those envelopes are. Okay, I want to see this envelope. I'm going to go a little darker right there. I'm going to go a little darker right here. And then again right here. So we need to let them dry. Let's let them dry just a little bit. And let's work some more in the mailbox. Okay, so this mailbox is open here. So now we want to bring some dark around here. And this is as just about as fine as the work gets. Okay, so you need a little bit of patience here, but not much, just a little. And again, if it's too hard or you don't like it, don't do it. Okay, so it has a little tab under here. Yes, I'm going to put that in. So that's my open mailbox. I'm going to dab a little bit of white in through here. Okay, and put it right around here like this. Okay, we want it to look a little bit like metal here. Plus, I want to have a little bit of shadow under my envelopes. Okay. A little shadow right here. A little bit of shadow around my yellow because again I want to see the difference. I want to see one envelope from the other. Okay, put a little in here. Okay, a little excess on the brush, take it off of there. Okay, how cool is that? Okay, so a little bit of detail around the edges of our mailbox, which is extremely cool because for the most part, that part of the mailbox has like a tree in front of it. Okay, so I'm looking there and I see a little bit of this bluish whitish color here, which I'm really liking. So I'm going to add a little bit of that to the snow on my mailbox. Okay. Let's drag it on down here. Okay, I'm going to put my detail brush in the water. Okay, and now I have lots of blue in my snow. So I'm actually going to take and drag some of my white into my blue. down my mailbox. Okay, and I'm really kind of heaping the paint on a little bit here. Yeah, it's snowy. It looks so exciting. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm thinking, wait a minute, where's my tiny detail brush here? Let's straighten out a little door here. Okay, so I was thinking that that line could have been a little bit straighter. So there we have it. Like I said, these paints are amazingly versatile. Okay, so there's a little bit of something that's connecting this little piece right here. So let's put that in. Okay. It's a bit of white. How do you think? Ta-da! Okay, so that's probably the most concentrated part of the picture. And just adding a little bit more snow here. I think that could be, I think my mailbox could be done. And like I said, I have a feeling that that's probably the most concentrated effort that you're going to need to do. Okay, so I would say we're ready for our snowman. So do we want the snowman first or the tree first? At this point, it doesn't matter. They're probably both the same. So the snowman and the tree actually don't touch each other. So they're kind of in the same, on the same plane in the foreground. So let's go ahead and do the snowman. Okay, so I'm actually going to add more white to my palette. And this time, probably a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to use a kind of a round brush if I have one. Oh, I do. Good, good, good. All right, so before we were using kind of a square head brush to get on our background in our trees. For a snowman, I'm going to use a round headed brush. Okay, this one has a little bit of a point on it, which is a-okay with me. Okay, but we do need to decide where Mr. Snowman's going. Okay, so we know we need his arm to be able to reach here, and his little tummy almost touches this. So he's actually right about here. Okay, so again, I'm going to give myself a little bit of an outline to work with. All right, so his head is up around here. Oh, I wish I had made my mailbox bigger now. Duh! Okay, so let's make him bigger. So his little body is going to come right about here. Right? And his head, it's closer to the mailbox, but I'm going to make his head bigger, I think, because I want him to be bigger, big head. Okay, so Here's his big head right about here. And his even bigger body comes like here. Okay, so he is pretty round. All right, so actually he's let's make a middle one here. Snowmen are usually 3 nice round balls. So we're going to bring him all the way down here, like so. Now he's going to need a big pocket. Okay, so I want to give him a little bit of shape here, not too much. I don't want it to be too shapely. Okay, so I'm using the blue now. See where the blue is on this handout? Put it this way. Okay. So I'm going to take my white, get this out of the way here. All right, so I have lots of white on here, and I have a big fat snowman. Right, so I'm going to put him, I'm going to re-whiten him a little bit. Okay, and on one side of him, I'm going to put the dark, all right, and because we want the light source to be coming this way. So I have this white, I'm going to take the white, and again, I'm going to mix this blue in here, and then again, the teensiest bit of black, just to bring in some shading here. And, okay, so can you see what I'm doing here? Let's adjust a little bit. A little closer. All right, so I want the dark to go around this side of him. Okay, and maybe we're gonna put a little shadow under the hat. Okay, I'm gonna put, I wanna round him out. So I'm gonna put some here, and then again, some here. And you can have a little bit over here, but not too much. All right, so now this is what I have. Okay, I'm going to clean, just not with water, I'm just taking the excess paint off of my brush, because see how that blue paint is kind of merged in or swirled in a little bit. I kind of would like to do that with my little guy. So I'm just gonna swirl in some of this blue, okay, around here. Swirl him in, because he's gonna look more bulbous and round if I do. Okay, so I'm just kind of swirling it in. He looks more snowy this way. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit more of the white and get a little bit more white on the side where I want the highlights to kind of be. So that's what he's looking like. I'm going to wipe the brush with just a paper towel. Okay, And I'm going to put some white into some of those bluer areas. I want to kind of swirl them in a little bit. Okay, I'm doing the groundwork here. Okay, so a little bit of, we want to bring this ground forward a little bit. So I'm taking the white, and I had mixed some blacks and blues in here together. Okay, so I'm going to put them across the bottom here, up right into my snowman, because he kind of merges right in with the background a little bit. Okay, so let's merge him in. Can you see? Good, good. Okay. So as this pot is drying a little bit, it's a little bit easier to mix it in, especially if you're like me and really gloved that paint on. Okay. So let's pause here for 1 second here. Okay, so I took a little bit of a break, a little bit of a comfort break and a little bit more peach tea. And given the holiday season, you can put whatever you want in your drink. This is actually peach tea. We do a lot of wine and paints, and actually, at the senior center, we do fun and paints. What they actually have in their cups is totally up to them. Okay, so I'm taking my little snowman here, and I am putting some darker blues and stuff, and hopefully you can see this. I'm taking a little bit more of this blue pigment and putting it along the right side of him. Okay, not all the way to the edge because we actually want the highlight there, but I would like for him to, and it's you snowman, you have a snow woman, I guess, but snowman, usually man. Oh, okay, so I'm going to take some of my paint off of my brush here. Okay. And I want the left side of him to be mostly in highlight, which means more white here. Okay. And I'm gonna get even a little bit more white in there. There we go. And on the very outside of him, okay, I want to put some white. Let's try this, just along the outside edges of him until we get down here, because once we get down here, we're going to just kind of merge him into the background a little bit. Okay, so this is the fun part. You have to have a lot of fun with him. Okay, so I'm using kind of a round stroke here so that I can blend in all of these colors. Okay, so I'm using the blue and the black mixed in with the white for some of this darker color here. And again, don't go all the way to the edge here, because we want that outside edge to be whiter so that we can kind of see where he ends. Maybe we want him to look like a puff of snow. So I'm taking the side of my brush here. Can you see this? It's kind of all white here. Plus painting on the side like this. Let me see if I can get him a little bit closer here. Closer, closer. Can you see him? So I'm going to take this white, I'm going to dip into my white a little bit. And once again, just go around the outside of him. Okay. I'm just going to dab along that line a little bit. Blend him in a tad. Okay. Ta-da! All right, I think I'm going to stop with him for a bit. Okay. And I am going to get his hat on him. I'm going to use a small detail brush to do that. And once again, his hat is black, but I'm going to water it down just a little bit because I want to make sure the hat is going right where I want it to. Okay, so let's see what's the best way to do this. Okay. So I'm looking at this. Okay. I definitely would like his hat to come down around his eyes just a tad here, like this, and up and around his little head. So it's going to come out here, come up here, and my paint is still somewhat wet, so I'm going to be a little careful here. Okay, so this is a very light kind of drawing here. And once again, you're not looking for perfection here. Unless you're a Virgo, then you might. Good. So I'm going to bring this part up like this. He even has some snow on his hat, doesn't he? It's funny that the more you look at a picture, the more you actually see. Okay, that's where his little ribbon's going to be. Okay. So now that I kind of have that where I want it, again, you know, you don't need to be perfect with this. You're looking for a fun piece here. And take his black hat, go up a little bit more here, like this. Okay, and this paint, if you really don't like what you have there, you can get a Q-tip, wet it, and just take it off of there. And then you can redo it. But I try, you know, sometimes, absolutely sometimes I end up doing that, and sometimes not. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and put in this red, I think. So I'm going to use a small brush to do that because it's a relatively small area. So a small brush would be awesome. So the base of that is just red. Okay. I'm gonna, for these really small areas in here, I'm gonna go ahead and use the small detail brush. Okay. And his body is already starting to dry a little bit because I'm leaning my hand on it, so it's a good thing. Okay, and while this is still wet, I'm going to just dip my brush in a little bit of the black and give us just a little bit of shadow on this side, right here. You'll be amazed at how the little things can make a big difference. Okay. Okay, and I have a little black of the hat showing down here. So let's go ahead and do that as well. And it's going to have some snow on there. So that's how you're going to be able to distinguish it from the rest of the hat. But for right now, we're going to let that black dry just a tad. I'm going to use a relatively small brush to put in the rest of the hat. Okay, relatively small brush because I want to maintain a little bit of control here. Just a little bit. Okay, and if you need to, stop the recording, obviously. Okay, so his hat is relatively easy once you get the shape you want in there. Okay, switching to the smaller brush, getting those finer areas here. Let's see if I can get closer. He is coming right along, this little man. And all along the brim of this hat, he's going to have some snow there. Okay. So here's his little hat. And I'm thinking maybe a little more red right there. But I also think that we need to let him dry just a teensy bit more. Okay. Thinking, let's see. I want to bring this hat out just a tad. Good. I'm liking that hat. Let's give him a bit more red here. Voila. Sometimes the smallest little pieces, if you see them, you kind of have to fix them or else. Okay, now seeing another little piece right there that I'm thinking I must fix. Unless he's going to have snow there, which he is not. So, okay, I'm going to take this little dab right here and fix right that little line. And we have a ta-da. Okay. Okay. He also has two eyes. Hold that up. Let's square his his hat off a little bit up here. Okay, I think I'm happier. All right, so this is what it looks like. Okay, now if you're looking at this picture, okay, you will see that one eye is lower than the other. Okay, and that's what's going to give his face a little bit of perspective. So we're going to dab into our black. And let me see if I can look at him from this way and still be able, you can still see him. And I'm going back into the hat now. Some people are just hard to please. All right, so right at the dip of the hat, he has an eyeball. Okay, and this one, again, a little bit higher. Okay, my table is squeaky. I apologize. This table, you've seen some of my other tutorials, you already know the scoop about the table. But when I first had my downstairs studio, it was about 25 years ago now. And I knew that I was going to teach here. So I actually had this table made. And so after 25 years, it squeaks. It squeaks a little bit, but it's okay. Okay, we do not mind a squeaky art table. It has a lot of paint on it and all kinds of stuff here. But it's like years and years and years of all of that cool stuff. All right, let us take some orange because now I think we should do the nose. And that nose is very carroty. I'm going to take some orange and put it on my plate, okay, which is right here. So I just took just a little bit because you're not going to use that much of it. Okay, let's move him this way. Okay, if I could paint him this way, that would help me. Would this help you see it better? Maybe. I have been doing so many of these tutorials, you think I would have it down pat by now. Okay, so I'm thinking eyeball here. Let's bring this one a little bit. Let's bring this one in a little bit more here. Okay. Okay, so I'm ready to put in his little carrot nose. So here's my little dab of orange. Using a small brush, always kind of a smaller brush to begin with, just because, you know, we're still using this as a guide to kind of figure out where things are going here. Does it work? Okay. So his nose, we wanted to start right about here. Okay, it's going to come here and almost to the end of his face. Okay, and again, I'm not so sure that there's really a wrong way to make a carrot nose. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow here, and I didn't clean off my brush because I actually want some of the the orange to show through here. Okay, so maybe a little bit thicker. Okay, so taking my orange again. I'm gonna make that nose a little bit more here. Yeah, I like that better. Doesn't look so witchy. He looked like he had a little bit of a witchy nose. Okay, so that nose by itself is absolutely okay and very cool, but we want to get a little bit of shadow on the bottom side of the nose. So dip your fine point brush into your brown and just run it right along the bottom of that nose. And down some around the top side here. And just dragging it right along the bottom. Okay, and that's gonna make his nose look a little bit more 3D. Okay, there's a little bit more on there than I would like. So I dried my brush. I did not wash it in the water. Just dried it. Okay, yeah, dipping into the yellow here, like so. And gonna go over the top of the nose so that we can have a little bit of highlight. Okay, there's a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm cleaning off the brush, dipping back into my yellow, okay, and then right along the top of that nose, once again, to get a little highlight in there. Okay. This is what his little nose looks like. Okay, and so I'm taking my brush, just pulling down, making a little, some tiny little lines in there. Okay, I'm going to dip into my whites and I'm going to make two little highlights in his eyes. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, one is going to go right here and the other one's going to go right there. Okay, amazing. Amazing how one little dot can make such a big deal. Okay, and I'm actually dried off my brush. I did not clean it with the water. Now I'm just dragging those lines down a little bit. And if you have too much white, dip into your black and just put a little black in there. Amazing. I've been doing art for a long time. And I'm still totally amazed and dazzled and by all of the cool stuff that goes on. The magic of art. I'm going into my black again with the idea I'm going to do the mouth. Okay. And the mouth starts at the middle of one eye and ends up in the middle of the other eye. So it's going to go like from here and make a little dot to right about here. Okay, so give myself some guide dots. I'm watering down my black paint a little bit. Okay, I'm going to have to get a little closer here. Can you see this? Oh, good. So it has kind of a V-shaped mouth, kind of a rounded V, and that's done very lightly. So I'm going to pick up some more black paint. I'm going to kind of roll my brush in it a little bit. I'm going to lean this hand on this hand, right? And I have my baby finger up against the canvas itself, and I'm going to put in a heavier black line. Ta-da! Okay, cool. All right, let's put in his buttons. Okay, buttons. Okay, and they go down. Like if this is the first ball, at the end of the first ball, which is right about here, and then we have one. Okay, so see how his belly is rounded like this? So the next button's going to come out just a tad, and then the next one is going to be right about here. Okay, so those are pretty big buttons or pieces of coal, if you will. So I'm going to clean off my little brush and put it aside, and take a round brush, which I'm sure I had it here somewhere. Here it is. Here it is. This is a pretty big round brush here. Okay, and I'm going to actually dip it in the black, straight on like this. And again, this brush has a little bit of a point to it, so I'm going to use the point to make the piece of charcoal. You absolutely do not need to. You can do whatever your heart desires. I am going to make one here. And actually, I think I would like it bigger. There we go. Okay, this one is over here. Okay, and then I'm going to make another pretty good size one right there. Okay, so there are his buttons. They're probably a little bit more over to the left than I would have liked now that I'm looking at them. So maybe I'll just make them bigger still. Let's bring them over a little bit more. Okay, so that kind of turns him a little bit. Under his nose, under his nose, we like it. Okay, and don't forget, we're still going to put snow on the hat. There's some on the buttons too. And actually, they have those little white highlights as well. So I'm going to take my small detail brush, dip into the white, and I'm going to put little dabs of white in the charcoal buttons. There we go. So even our charcoal buttons have a little bit of highlight on them. Okay, now that these letters are pretty dry here, I'm actually going to go ahead and whiten them just a little here. You see? Oh, good. Okay, so just a tad. Can't tell if that's part of the picture or I dropped something on it. Ah. Okay, let's do his little stick arms. Okay, little stick arms are brown and white. Again, small brush in the brown. Okay, we know that this arm comes up and over the letters, and this one comes up almost to the top of the head, which is right here. Now, again, does this need to be perfect? Absolutely not, okay? But we do want it to come from this part of him, and not right on the very edge. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of do one of these. Bring it up to my guide dot a little bit. Come down here. Okay, so there's the start of my arm. Okay, and I'm going to, before I do the other arm, I'm going to kind of work on this one a little bit. So I'm going to take a thinner brush. Okay. And I'm going to dip into my brown. Let's see if we can bring him a little closer. Okay, and I'm going to fill in the stick for his arm. Okay, dipping into my brown. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, dipping into the brown. Okay, and I want this to come on this way. And then there's another one that kind of comes this way. And there's a little baby one that comes up here. Right? Switching to the smaller detail brush. Dipping in the brown. And now I can put in these little tiny, tiny twiggy things at the end of his arms. Okay, they're actually just little Y shapes on here. Okay, there's his arm. Going to take a little bit of this yellow. Okay, and I'm going to just put teensy bits in here. Actually, I do put a little red in too. Okay, and once it dries a little bit, then I'm going to go ahead and put the snow on him. Okay, so here's an arm. Here's an arm for you. Okay, so this arm is going to be here in our letters a little bit here, a little bit up here. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go very thinly, and this one is coming from behind him. So if this is the edge of him here, and is this far enough down? Oh, sticking my hand in the black. Duh. Okay, so we actually want this one here. All right, so I have these little guide dots about where I'm going to connect him. Okay, so let's put in his arm. Ta-da. Okay, I'm gonna put this down for a second because I have a bead of paint on here, which I'm very happy about. Okay, switching to the brush that's a little bit bigger. And I want to come down here like this. On his arm to be a little bit more interesting than it was. So I'm putting in these little twiggy type things the same way we did on the other side, and I'm actually letting it overlap the mailbox. Okay, I'm going to switch to the smaller detail brush. Okay, I'm holding one hand with the other. And I want to come up here and add those little kind of Y shapes on here a little bit. Okay, and I'm going over like my snow where the snow was. Okay, same thing. I'm going to put some yellow in here. A little bit of red, too. because I want to. Okay, switching back to the brown because there's a little too much red in there. Okay, so I'm thinking that's good. Let's give him a little bit more bulk here. Yeah. Not too much. Okay, so we have one arm that's coming from behind the snowball and one that's coming out from the snowball, but forward. Okay, so putting my brushes, let's clean those feathers. Use more paper towels. Okay. All right, let's grab a little bit of white paint here, like so, and fix where my hand was smudging these guys. A little smudge will do you. Okay, so sometimes your hands get in the way. You thought something was dry and it wasn't. It's okay, not an emergency. All right, so I think we're ready for a scarf. I'm gonna take not the tiniest brush, but the second tiniest brush and put it in the red. And again, I'm just going to try and play around a little bit here and try to get this in frame for you. Good, good. Okay, so this definitely goes around his neck like this. Right? And then on this side, it goes around his neck also. And then kind of swings down here like this. You do not have to get this perfect and probably will not get this perfect, nor should you get this perfect. Okay, so I'm going to perfect some of these shapes a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, now that might be a little bit too thin. Let's make it a little thicker. He's a pretty big snowman. So he's going to need a lot of help here. All right, so dipping into the red right here. Now we want to make these, we want to make the ties here. So I want it to come here, then all the way down to where? All the way down to where this last button is actually. Okay, so I'm going to come down here like this and come all the way down to where this last button is at. Okay, so we have that going on there. And it's kind of raggedy at the end. So we're going to let it be raggedy at the end, like that. Okay. Now we also want this one coming down here. All right, so that's this guy. So this one is going to come from way over here, almost touching this button, almost, and then swinging right around. Okay, so maybe I am going to let it overlap that a little bit. There we go. Okay, and this guy actually swings up like this. Nice. Okay, gonna make this one a little bit thicker. Alrighty. Okay, so now what we need here is some shadow, because we have this nice scarf on him. I'm going to just clean off the brush without the water. Then I'm going to dip into my black and actually add it here. I'm going to take some of my red. Okay. So I'm making this really dark reddish blackish color here. Okay. And I want to create some folds in here. Okay, so maybe a little bit more dark black in here. Right, so when you get the basic color on these, it's very cool, but it looks unfinished. It's these this extra dimension of color in here that makes it look 3D, makes it look like there's folds in here. Okay, see, doesn't that look better? So same thing here. We want a little bit of folding going on. Okay, and kind of knowing where to put the shadow and the highlights can make all of the difference. Okay, and anything that's in front of or behind something else is going to be in shadow. As my students like to tease me, go daka daka, because I say that to them all the time. Go daka daka. Okay. All right. So what I want to do here is put these brushes in the water so that they don't dry out. But I'm going to just dry a brush and just pull a little bit of this black off. As a matter of fact, I'm going to dip into the red and give myself a little bit more red over here. Okay. Dipping in the red. And now I'm going to go over some of these areas. And again, I'm just redefining them a little bit. Okay, because we want a little bit of highlight in there. There we have it. Okay. I'm going to take a very fine line brush. I'm going to dip into my red, okay, with this very fine line brush. And I'm going to make a few more of these little wispy guys on the end. Because they look like fun to me. Okay, I'm going to dip into the black a little bit just to go around this a little bit. And what it's doing is showing the difference between the two strands here. Okay, let's clean this little guy off. All right, so you definitely want some dark under here so that you can see where that kind of ends and the other begins. So there's quite a bit of paint on this at this point in time. Okay, so we're gonna actually let this dry out just a little bit. I think we have, I would have liked a little bit more bend here. There we go. Okay, so I kind of went over my little button. So I'm actually going to put part of it back on, just a little bit of it back on, so you can kind of see it underneath there, like that. And if in fact you do that, then you have to add the little white dot back. Yeah, okay. But I'm liking him. I'm liking him scarf mucho better. Okay, so this is what we have here. He's looking good. All right, so the other thing he could use on his scarf is a little bit of highlight, but we're going to let that dry a little bit. All right, and I want to put in the tree first. This big tree over here that's going over here. All right, so to do that, I'm going to use a relatively good size brush here. And this is mostly like brown with white in it, lots of snow, either that or it's a birch tree, one or the other. But we are going to make it look good no matter what. And I think I'll switch to a square-headed brush. Okay. And I'm going to take my brown here. And this tree is going to come from in front of the mailbox, like this. And it's going to come up. It's going to go over the edge of the mailbox right here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, So this is going to come up. And go persistent little thickens. It's going to go up here and right off. Okay, right off the side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit thicker here. Okay, you see all that good stuff? Okay. So let's get our tree a little bit more stable in here. Now, we have lots of little bushy things and whatnot coming off of this, like right about here. Okay, and I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. And this, I'm going to bring some of my yeah, so we actually want quite a few little stems coming off of here. Makes it look really, really interesting. Okay, we have kind of a big one coming off of here. Very kind of far-reaching one over here. This one is coming right off the edge of our canvas. Another one. Right, now this little guy has quite a bit of white on him. Okay, look at that tree. Right, so I'm going to dip right into my white. Okay, and I'm going to bring the white up the side of this tree, just like this. And see how that quickly changes the color of things. Quite a bit. Okay, and also this tree has quite a bit of snow on it as well. So you can leave it bumpy. It actually also has a branch coming right off of here and down this way, which is kind of cool. So I think we'll put that in. And switch back to the smaller one for underneath here. Because even though there's quite a bit of snow on that branch, it needs to be darker down here and over here. down here for a second. Let's see. Oops. All right, so we have quite a few awesome little stemmy things coming off of here. I'm totally loving, totally loving. Okay, so I'm taking my smaller brush, okay, and dipping into my white here. And now I'm putting the snow on and accenting these branches. Closer for you. Okay, so obviously the snow is on the top of the branch. So let's do that. Let's put some snow on these branches. Okay, so you can dab the snow on like this. Okay, some of these, I want the tree to actually be a little whiter. Okay, so I'm taking some of this white and dragging it through to the brown of the tree because I think it should be whiter than it is here. So just kind of dabbing some of this white on here. Okay, taking another little small tree here and coming right off the side, I think. Okay, so I'm thinking a little bit of brown behind this tree will make that foreground tree show up. We have it. See there. Get you over a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna clean these brushes a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more white paint. Okay, and this white paint, I'm going to just dab it on here. You see what I'm doing there? I'm just thinking up to myself, I'm going to town over here. I didn't look to see if you could see. Okay, so quite a bit of snow here. There's snow on this tree. Now let's put a little bit of this little dye down here. Okay, keeping this side a little bit darker so we can tell one tree from the other. Okay. It's just a little dye off into the sunset here. So he actually has quite a bit of white on him. Okay, so you can dab more snow or less, whatever your heart desires. Okay, I'm kind of liking that tree. What do you think? Okay, let's put some white on his limbs and just kind of dabbing it on the top here. And I have a hard time doing it, so switch to the smallest brush you have. Okay, dip into your white and give us some snow. Snow. Dipping into the white and dabbing on the top of his little arm. And in this little Y shape in here, because the snow kind of gets caught up over there. Try not to stick your hands in the wet part of the snow. Already had to fix his buttons once. Okay, so there's snow there. And remember, we also needed some on his hat, on top of his hat. And here, some along the front of the hat, through here. Okay, I think that's enough. You could put a little on his nose, actually. It'd be cool. Now that I put it there, I'm not crazy about it. So I'm gonna just wet my brush just a tad and kind of drag that off of there. Okay, now where else did we need some white? We need some on his hat, which we have. Some on his limbs. Okay, let's put some on his scarf. Okay, and we just want to basically kind of highlight that scarf a little bit. So just like on the very top here, maybe. Maybe we're going to catch some kind of going down here. Let's drag some, yeah. Just a little over here, I think. And I'm actually kind of looking at the handout to kind of figure out, we don't want too much snow on this guy, on this part of him anyway. Let's put a little bit here, over here. Okay, and that's not, oh, I just got paint on my computer wires. And I was told many moons ago that water and electronics do not mix well together. And I also know it's true. Okay, I am going to kind of leave that, switch to a little bit of a bigger brush. And I'm actually just going to take some clean water and just kind of move this around just a little bit here. And I know I kind of like it just the way it is. So I'm not too sure I want to mess around too much more with this. Although, maybe mess around a little bit more with the snow on his hat. Because it's kind of choppy in through here. I would like it to be a little smoother. Thank you. Okay, let's just need that, a little dab will do us. Okay, the only other thing we have here are these little Christmas tree branches right here and here. Okay, so I'm going to dip into my brown, like so. And these are really foreground. Okay, so this one is going to come down here in front of our snowman. Yeah, like so. Okay, it's a little bit of a challenge. I can't hold on to it. That's okay. There. Okay, so I'm watering down this brown just a little bit. Okay, so this, this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so here, like that. Then we have another one here, and here, here, here. So, that one came out a little thick, which, like I say, if you're kind of standing up and painting and Munio, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be done. Absolutely, it can be done. Because we are doing it. Doing it. Okay, let's zoom this guy out a little too. Okay. All right. Let's get some of these way out here because I think they're really interesting. All right, so I think that's enough there. Let's do one on this side. It's kind of in front of this mailbox. So let's bring it up here, kind of off of this little snow mound. And making these little wispy ends on here. This is a little bit easier. I hope you can see. Now bring it all the way up here. Okay. All right, so this is coming down this way. Let's bring this over here. Okay, sorry. Okay, all right, I think I better stop there because it's not a good angle to paint at, I guess. All right, so the last step here is to put on our greenery right here and here. And I think we have everything else going on here. Oops. All right, go over there. All right, so now we need a little bit of green. Green on our plate. And I didn't put like lots and lots and lots. Okay, and I have some yellow here. Yellow, yellow, kissing yellow. All right, so let's see. I actually want to take some of this green over here and some of this yellow over here so that I end up with kind of a nice green. Okay, I don't want anything too harsh. This is a very it's a cool picture certainly. The colors in it make it definitely a cold, wintry picture. I'm going to put a little bit of white in here. Okay. And a little bit more yellow in here. And see how I like that. Not quite green enough, is it? Let's try that. Okay, let's try that there. Now, I have to say I made quite a mess out of my little brush, which typically I don't use for mixing. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off. I am going to water this down ever so slightly here. Okay, and what I did is I just dipped my brush in the water. So now what I want to do here, just whisk on these little guys. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm just taking and just making these little wispy strokes here. Okay, can you see that? I'm actually going to add a little bit more yellow to it, I think. Very nice. I like it with the yellow in it. Let's go this way. Yeah, I apologize. It's kind of hard to paint at this angle. So if I get out of camera a little bit, I don't mean to. Okay. I'm bringing it all the way in front of this tree here. And just a little pop of color to it, isn't it? Nice. Mm-hmm. I have one little more down here. Very cool. Now we gotta do the other side. Okay, so I'm kind of switching back and forth from the yellow and the green, and that's what's giving me the variation of color in here. Kind of cool. The paint is a little on the thick side here, so I am putting my brush in the water and then in the paint. Okay. Okay, this part of the branch is on the thick side. Again, I apologize. Kind of painting at a weird angle here. Let's try this. Take a little bit of white because this pot seems really thick to me. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So let's see it if I do that. I think you can. Okay, let's move this palette over here. Okay, cool. If I put it up like that. Okay, and you'll notice that even though I used the picture for reference, okay, at some point you just want to kind of do your own thing a little bit, maybe. Okay. And you should know that these pictures that we're doing here are pictures that caught my eye online that someone said, oh my gosh, I really love that. Will you do this one? Blah, blah, blah. So even though they're somewhat unique because we're adding our own kind of little twist to them, most of these are just for fun, or for yourself, or a family member, a friend you want to give it to. Right? These are not something that you can decide that you're going to sell and make money from because that is not your artwork. Okay, and it's actually, even though it's unique in a lot of ways, the ideas actually are not mine either. They come from somewhere else. Okay, so I'm gonna say, let's take a look. Let's see. Okay, that's a pretty cool guy. Okay, here he is. He's here. And I'll tell you that after he dries, you can Mod Podge him and give him a little bit of a sheen if you wanted to. Or if you have like sparkle paint or something on that idea, you could sparkle paint him. And you're moving back just a tad so you can see it. But he's extremely cool, and he was a lot of fun to do. And thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to move this back this way so we can talk. Let's talk, okay? So this is my Frosty guy. This is my little Frosty guy. Checking the mail, and making sure he's getting all his mail, Okay, and nowadays that would be his computer, get all his email, right? So if you have questions about this picture, call me. I'm Joni, 978-807-7608. If you do call me, leave me a message, okay? I know that I can be a little hard to reach sometimes, but I always answer my texts and messages. All right, so text me and say, give me a call back, Tuesday at 1 is a good time, blah, 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 blah. So give me some information. And you can also leave me a message about what your question is. What paint did you use? How did you do this? What did you mix to get that? So on and so forth. All right, so don't be afraid to call me. You can also get a hold of me at jonisser@comcast.net. JOAN as in Nancy, S as in Sam, A at Comcast.net. All right, you can get a hold of me through the Draper Council on Aging. Bethany Lovelace is the director there, and she is awesome as well. The whole team there is very cool. Noelle does a live Facebook event every Monday morning. She gets everyone up and exercising, which is cool. Debbie Lasorta, I'm not sure. Debbie, I'm sorry. Okay, but she's the activities coordinator and just about everything else. And Ari is there, and there's a whole team that makes things work there. And so the staff is back in-house. They're not open for activities yet, but essential services are there, Meals on Wheels and so on and so forth. So make sure you call them if you need them. They care about you. I care about you. So, let us know. Let us know what you need. And you can look for me on Jones Art Gallery /Havel on Facebook, intuitivebodyandsoul.com. A lot of my art projects are up on there, as well as energy work, meditation, so on and so forth. Bethany at the Drake Council on Aging, Ian Jones at the Greater Havel Arts Association, Tara or Bob at BATV, there's Ron at DATV. So if you have any questions about programming or anything like that, hey, Google those guys and they will, like I said, they care, and they do care about you. Okay, so I am going to put Frosty back on his little perch over here. I am going to say thank you, and I will see you next time. If you're watching this around the holiday season, and I imagine you are, happy holidays. Okay, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, right? However you celebrate the holidays, have a happy and safe holiday season. Okay, I am going to look for the on button here and say goodbye for now.